and loss of equipment. So I mean, I think what you want to do is you want to have a force with the capabilities and capacities that allows you to accomplish the mission with minimal loss for life or equipment. Yeah, that really is what we need to have.
Sure, I understand that, and I love all you guys, and I agree that's a problem. But we're changing right now. General Breedlove, I'm reading now from your statement. You said, as we reduce our force, we will retain the capability to execute each of these missions, but we'll no longer have capacity to execute them all in parallel. As a result, the days of engaging in two large-scale wars while simultaneously responding to a myriad of humanitarian crises and engaging in short-notice campaigns will not be possible. I agree with you. I appreciate you had some pretty strong statements in there when you were talking about the age of your aircraft. I know that. I know how old the KC-35s are and the B-52s, and I know that the American people really would expect more, but they don't really know. They don't know how bad this is. Let me mention one area that will make everyone uncomfortable, and that is. I was very close. I served in the House with Panetta, and I know that what he said didn't really come from his heart, and obviously no one's going to be able to say that. But he said that last week that the Defense Department would wage war on global warming by promising to spend billions of taxpayers' dollars on more green stuff and all that. Right now we're trying to survive this thing. When Democrats and Republicans, all three of them, talked about this $500 billion and about then sequestration coming along, it's a disarming of America. Now, I happen to be the ranking member, and I used to, when we were a majority, I was the chairman of the Environment and Public Works Committee. And I know this obsession on all this global warming stuff. I also know that the trends have totally changed. I mean, just came out the other day, only 19% of the TV meteorologists believe, number one, that global warming is taking place, and number two, that man-made gases are causing it. And yet, I read right here, and I appreciate very much, Admiral, when you are talking about, every $1 increase in the price per barrel of fuel is approximately $31 million of additional costs annually above the budgeted level. Well, we're talking about huge amounts of money here. And it's great, if the president, and he does, want to use the military as a test tube for his green agenda, he can do it. But people need to know he does it. And you guys are in an awkward position of having to say things that fortify the committee. And let me just ask you this. This is a direct quote from last week. In the 21st century, reality is that there are environmental threats that constitute threats to our national security. All right, any one of the four of you want to volunteer to explain to me, because I don't understand, what are these environmental threats that are comparable to the terrorists who are out there? Anybody want to? I don't either. Well, anyway, let's. I want to get into one thing here on the F-35s. By moving this program to the right, the president is able to say, well, we're not reducing the number of F-35s. However, during the cuts, moves them over to the right so that the president's budget request cuts the F-35 budget by $1.6 billion in fiscal year 13 and $15.1 billion over the FYDP. Well, that's true. The FY13 cuts results in 179 fewer planes being produced during this FYDP period. Granted, later on down the road, they may be produced. But we're talking about right now is when the problem is. I gave a talk, I guess it was on the Senate floor, but I researched it pretty good. I said, and it matches the figures we're getting from you guys. In total, since 2008, the Department of Defense has spent at least $4 billion on climate change and energy efficiency activities that had nothing to do with the actual meeting of real defense needs. The same $4 billion could have been used to purchase 30 new F-35s. It could have been used to purchase 28 if we'd kept on the F-22s before the budget 4 years ago, and that program was that, or the C-135 Aviation Modernization Program. I think we all agree. You certainly you agree, don't you, General Breedlove, and the significance of that program? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I think everybody does. And so let me ask you: do you think that do you really believe that it's more important to be experimenting with this green stuff than it is to go ahead with that program, Aviation Modernization Program? That's axed. That's done in this budget.
Senator, I can't speak to the broader DoD programs included in that amount, but on the Navy side, we're putting a significant amount of our investment in efficiency and making our forces more efficient.
I'm all for efficiency. That's not the point. I'm getting down to how important this program is, which I think is very significant. And I have a lot of quotes here from all you guys talking about how significant this program is, and the fact that that is knocked out in this budget for the benefit of a green test tube experiment that the military is being forced to do. Now, let me say this. I know my time's expired and I have to leave anyway, but I can remember back when who was going to be Secretary of Defense when we were, back when Rumsfeld was before our committee, and it was a confirmation hearing. And I said to him, this is way back, back when we were a majority, I guess it was about 10 years ago. And I said, you know, the American people believe that we have the very best of everything, and we don't. And certainly, General Austin, you'd agree, our endless cannon, there are 5 countries that make a better one than what we have. So I said, if you're going to take over this position, and I could say the same thing to Panetta, but I didn't do it during that confirmation hearing, you're going to be advised by a lot of smart generals. There are a lot of smart generals out there. All 4 of you guys are as smart as you can be, but you're going to be wrong. And I recall that the last year I was in the House, on the House Armed Services Committee with, I would say, our current secretary, who is seated next to me, we had someone testifying that in 10 years we would no longer need ground troops. Well, so what is the answer? How can we meet the expectations of the American people that our number one concern should be defending America, not all this other stuff? And that we have the best of everything. When our kids go out in battle, they've got the best equipment. His answer was this. He said, we probably should go back to what we did over the last century. He said the average, in fact, it was right on this number, in times of war, in times of peace, for 100 years in this country, that we spent 5.7% of our GDP on defending America. And at that time, it was dropping down precipitously. This is after the Clinton administration. Now we're looking at about half of that. So I guess what I'm saying, I'm not asking any questions here. I'm saying that you guys are doing a great job. We're doing a lousy job because we're not dealing you a hand. With the hand that you have, you're playing it right. You need to have a better hand. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. I'm going to resist the temptation to do any rebuttal of Senator Inhofe here because I want to stay focused on...
No, this might be a good time to do it.
No, I'll wait till you leave. I'm not dumb. I think I think what's really awkward is when people like you are kind of pulled into some of the politics that swirl around this place. We all do this politics stuff all the time up here, and one of the things I admire so much about our military is the loyalty and support that you give one another, and that you stay focused on your mission, that you try as much as you possibly can